A very warm welcome, Your Excellency, Minister Bوريطۃ to Budapest. Tomorrow will be the first ever V4 Morocco meeting of Ministers of Foreign Affairs. Why now, and what are your expectations?
Thank you. I'm very delighted that it will be the first meeting of the V4 plus Morocco. I think the question should be why not now, because this difficult period we are living is pushing all the countries to look for reliable partners. Neighborhood is not today an asset. What is important is the trust and the reliability of a partner. And through the different bilateral relations we have with the four countries, we feel that we have a strong ground of trust and partnership that allows us to go a step further and to have this format, a V4+1. Second, we think that we are facing many challenges altogether. Of course, the pandemic is the most important, but we have other challenges, security ones, and we have also opportunities, including economical development. So I think it's a good opportunity to build on what we have achieved on a bilateral basis and to try to explore what we can do as an added value within this format.
You've met the Hungarian Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Mr. Péter Szijjártó. What were the major topics that arose during the encounter?
First, he's a good friend, and we have worked during the last years to build a real partnership between our two countries. During the last 5 years, we have signed more agreements than during the last decades. We have met, I think, 5 or 6 times. He paid 2 visits to Morocco. This is my visit here. And we have signed agreements on important issues. Today it was an opportunity to see the implementation of those agreements and how to enrich this legal framework between our two countries. Today Morocco is the 3rd trade partner of Hungary in Africa, and this is very important. So we decided to strengthen the economical dimension of our bilateral partnership, and also to exchange best practices on the way of managing the COVID-19, on how we can together contribute to peace, stability and development in Africa. So the idea is to build on this very positive dynamic of our bilateral relations during the last years, to promote our interests and our objectives in other areas in the Arab world and in the African continent.
4 years ago, it was also highlighted that the two countries, Morocco and Hungary, will also be more intense regarding the fight against illegal migration. And Morocco plays an important role in stopping illegal migration. To what extent is the kingdom partner to the EU?
Of course, we are the closest southern Mediterranean country to the EU. Between Morocco and the continent, there is less than 12 kilometers. So Morocco has been all the time a reliable partner, but within a clear and shared vision of migration. Migration is a natural or human natural phenomena. People are moving, and this is something which is good. What is not good is when it comes to illegal trafficking or human trafficking or illegal migration. The migrant most of the time is the victim of those networks who are using poverty or the weakness of some people to draw them into this adventure.
So what can the kingdom do in order to prevent this?
If the EU has been all the time, let's say, comfortable with its western route, it's because the country was doing a lot. When in 2014-15 there was this wave of migration from the eastern route. No one was thinking about what is happening west. It's not because the networks were not using that route from West Africa to Morocco to Spain. It's because the country, Morocco, was investing a lot in protecting its territory first, but also its partners. You know, we have almost 8,000 from our security forces mobilized on a daily basis to secure the Mediterranean shores. We have also integrated 60,000 people from sub-Saharan Africa, which came to Morocco as a transit country, but who stayed in Morocco as a country of destination. Morocco is ready to strengthen its partnership with the EU, but within a common understanding that it's a shared responsibility. It's not only the responsibility of countries of origin or countries of transit. When you have a network or you have traffickers, they are in the country of origin, in the country of the transit, but they find people in the country of destination to help those illegal migrants to get into those countries. We have all of us to put our efforts against those networks, and it's easy to put all the pressure on countries of transit because they are the last connection. I think there should be a comprehensive approach to migration through development, through giving hope to people, to youth in the African continent, and of course by being tough against the illegal migrants, and particularly the networks of illegal migration.
Another issue is the terrorist threats within the region, and we all know that the Islamic State is still very active. Does this affect the Arab countries of Northern Africa?
Yes, it's terrorism is a global threat to all of us, and the terrorist networks are coordinating in all the regions. In Morocco, we have since 2003 there was a vision by His Majesty the King to tackle the issue from the different dimensions. The fight against terrorism cannot be reduced to security elements. First, His Majesty engaged in a reform of the religious field, because you have to fight the ideas before fighting the translation of ideas into acts. Radicalism has to be fought, and this is this reform of the religious field was important. Then you have to work and to act against vulnerabilities. When you have poverty, when you have exclusion, then it's easier for the terrorist groups to attract. And there was work done by the Moroccan authorities under the instruction of His Majesty to ensure human developments in the country. And third, of course, there is the security dimension, and Moroccan intelligence services have been working closely with their counterparts, including here, to fight against radicalism and terrorism.
Another issue is there has been a fight over the Western Sahara for many years now.
We call it Moroccan Sahrawi.
You call it Moroccan Sahara. It is one of the least densely populated regions in the world. It is a former Spanish colony, however, it is seen by Morocco as its own sovereign territory. Why is the Moroccan Sahara conflict heating up again?
It's important because it's for Morocco, the Sahara has been all the time Moroccan, and it will remain Moroccan. You know, in these difficult periods, you need strong states, and you need states to defend their identity and their territorial integrity. The Sahara was occupied by Spain in the 19th century. It has never been independent. It has been all the time part of Morocco. And in 1975, Morocco and Spain negotiated an agreement by which Morocco recovered back the Sahara. So today, what you call the Western Sahara, which is the Moroccan Sahara,
I was reading it. I learned it from the news, the international press.
It's completely part of the Moroccan territory. You can take a flight, go to the Sahara, and you will not find a difference between Dakhla or Casablanca or Tangier. And by the way, in Dakhla there is the World Championship on windsurf every year. So it's not an area of war or area of conflict. It's a very quiet area, and I invite the Hungarian people to go and see it, and they will discover that the reality of the Sahara, like the other parts of Morocco, very quiet, very calm, and very attractive.
We must speak about the current coronavirus situation, because you also mentioned it. About 950,000 infections have been registered in the kingdom. We've seen many, many waves, as you've mentioned already. What is the vaccination rate in the country?
It's almost 65% of the population, and Morocco is the most advanced African country in vaccination. His Majesty's vision was from day one that protection is good, but vaccination is also important. So under instructions of His Majesty, we started discussions on the vaccine since April 20, 1 month after the first case was discovered in Morocco. And His Majesty followed personally those discussions and called the Chinese president. And like here in this country, we didn't look to vaccination from the dogmatic, ideological or geopolitical point of view. For us, Sinopharm, Sputnik, Pfizer, all of them are, if necessary to save lives of people, we don't get into those discussions. And so that's why we had an agreement with Sinopharm, we have an agreement with AstraZeneca, we had an agreement with Pfizer, and today Morocco is about to produce a fill and finish vaccine in Morocco in collaboration with Sinopharm. And last July His Majesty chaired a ceremony where 2 agreements were signed, one for fill and finish and second one for manufacturing of vaccines in Morocco for the country, but also for Africa.
We've talked about many challenges, issues, conflicts. How does Morocco see the future of Africa, the continent? In this war, there are 2 schools: the Afro-pessimism and the Afro-optimism. Morocco and His Majesty belongs to the Afro-optimists. We think that Africa is not a threat. Africa is an opportunity. Africa is an opportunity for business. Africa is an opportunity for development. Africa has the most vital demographic components in the world. Africa will be in 2050 2.5 billion. And so either we invest in the continent to make it an opportunity for all of us, or we will have a burden for all of us. For His Majesty and for the Kingdom of Morocco, we are Afro-optimists. His Majesty paid 51 visits to the African continent. We invested a lot in the continent, and today we consider that for countries like Hungary or V4 countries, we can have a triangular cooperation: Morocco, Hungary, and Africa, for business, for training, for development of youth. And I think this is the way we should look to Africa. Africa is 35 million people getting every year to the middle class. And this is something very important in terms of investment, way of life. We have to trust Africa, and we have to accompany what the Africans want. Africa is not a problem. The problem is the approach to Africa. For sometimes, some countries
or some political groupings have looked to Africa from like tutors. We will teach you what you have to do in the continent. Others have looked to Africa as a threat, and we have to contain it. I think the best way is what Hungary is doing, to go to Africa, to understand the realities, and try to accompany those realities in a very Afro-optimistic way.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for your time and giving an interview to Hungarian News Channel here TV.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.